Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Freedom Fridays, the new series here on the channel where we are exploring strategies, tools, books that can help us get to financial freedom, but also time freedom and creative freedom so that we can live life on our own terms. This is a very long video that is my attempt at showing a beginner's guide to financial freedom. And really, I just want to share some ideas that might change how you think about achieving financial freedom. We're going to talk about the role of luck versus skill in the process, the 3 primary obstacles that hold most people back in my experience. We're going to talk about the 4 S's framework, and then the bulk of the video is going to be focused on the 8 or 9 key skills that I think you need to learn if you want to build towards financial freedom. And we filmed this video about 2 weeks ago when I was hosting a workshop in London for students of my part-time YouTuber Academy and of our new Lifestyle Business Academy. And we do these events a few times a year just because it's super nice to be able to actually meet the people that sign up to our courses. I do like a big Q&A afterwards, my team is all there, and so we just basically try and help our students as much as we can. And it's also really helpful because then we can see what kind of problems they're struggling with, which then helps us make our products better and also helps us make better content on YouTube and Instagram and all of that kind of stuff. Now, instead of cutting this down to a sort of like retention heavy YouTube edit, we've actually decided to keep quite a lot of the content in so that it mirrors somewhat vaguely like the experience of actually being in the room in person. And if you actually are serious about getting to financial freedom someday, especially if that involves building your own business or your own lifestyle business, I just think going to events, whether they're ours or anyone else's, in real life, it's an incredible experience because probably in your life, you are not surrounded by people who are trying to build their own businesses. But being able to get together with like 120 other people who are all trying to do the same thing, who are flown in from all different parts of the world to like be there, it's just a really cool experience. And you learn in a different way than you do just sitting at your desk or on your phone, just like scrolling through a YouTube video at double speed. So that's why we've decided to keep quite a lot of the stuff in. Having said that, of course, there will be timestamps if you do want to skip around. The first few minutes of the talk are me kind of getting a feel for who we have in the audience, which might be interesting. And then I sort of quickly recap my origin story of how I personally decided to make the leap to working towards financial freedom from being a doctor. So if you're very familiar with that story, of course, feel free to skip that bit, but just as a flag, that is sort of like the structure of the video, and there'll be timestamps if you want to skip around. So with all that said, I hope you enjoy this beginner's guide to financial freedom. So I would love to start off with a show of hands. Can we have a show of hands? Anyone who came from outside the UK for this? Whoa. Wow, that's amazing. That's very cool. Can you guys just like shout like what country did you come from? Germany, Bulgaria, Ireland, United States, bloody hell, Brazil, bloody hell. Oh yeah, my God. This, I really hope this is worth it because otherwise. Okay, cool. Can we have a show of hands? Anyone here part of our YouTuber community? Who here is a YouTuber? Okay. Who here is a YouTuber who would like to be more consistent on YouTube but is kind of concerned that they're not consistent enough? Okay, maybe about half the people. Who here is part of our like LifeOS productivity course community? Okay, handful of you. Clearly that course is less popular than our YouTuber course, that's fine. And who here is part of a like 1K challenge, making money on the internet? Holy shit, like lots of you. Whoa, that's a lot. That's very cool. I didn't realize we had so many of the 1K people. Nice, welcome. This is the first time we've done like a sort of helping people make money explicitly type thing. I felt weird about it because I don't want to be one of the guys, but now I'm one of the guys that like teaches people how to make money on the internet. But to be honest, whenever we would talk to people trying to start YouTube channels, they were all secretly hoping they'd make money on the internet. And so we've kind of always been in the space for a while, so it's lovely to see you guys here. Can I have another show of hands? Who here is interested in becoming financially free someday? Lovely. Who here already considers themselves to be financially free? Oh, wow. Very good. Fantastic. Well done, you guys. Who here has never made any money on the internet yet? Okay, small amount. Who here has made at least $1 on the internet? Good. Keep your hands up if you made at least $10 on the internet. 100? 1,000? And by on the internet, I mean like if your business is like a physical business, like, that also counts. So everyone here has made at least $1,000. $10,000 lifetime revenue. $100,000 lifetime revenue. I feel like an auctioneer. $1 million lifetime revenue. Oh, hello. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Excellent. $10 million lifetime revenue? No, not quite. Okay, fantastic. Cool. So we saw mostly there was like a big peak amongst like you made a few $100s on the internet. And in my experience, like the thing that a lot of people want when they come to our stuff, whether it's through our YouTuber stuff or through our financial freedom stuff, or even when we run this community formerly called Productivity Lab, now called LifeOS Pro. Anyone part of that community?
like one person, two people. Oh yeah, we got three or four. Like the people who got most value out of our productivity stuff as well were really the people that wanted financial freedom. Like who want to, you know, this whole idea of kind of being able to live life on your own terms, being able to have, you know, control over how you're making the money, being able to have like flexibility over how you're spending your time, creative freedom, being able to do the work that energizes you. Most of you are probably not interested in like the Dubai boy billionaire lifestyle, except maybe Robin, who's like working towards that over there. Most of you are probably interested more of like, we want financial freedom because it gives us time freedom. It lets you spend your time how you want. It lets you pick up your kids from school if you really want to. It lets you take a mental health day without having to beg someone for permission, or you can take time off without having to beg a rota coordinator or whatever the system is. And so this is really the journey that I've been on over the last many years. My origin story for this, as you guys might be familiar with if you watch a lot of the YouTube channel, was when I was like 18 and got into med school. I started like speaking to doctors around me, and a lot of them seemed kind of miserable. And I sort of projected out 10 years ahead. Is this like, how happy will I be in this career? And I kind of realized that most of the doctors that I knew kind of enjoyed their jobs, but they didn't enjoy the lack of flexibility and the lack of autonomy they had in their jobs. The happiest doctors I knew were the ones who worked part-time, who worked 3 days a week. And so I did some maths, and I calculated if I could make £3,000 a month in additional income, I could work 3 days a week as a doctor. And so aged 18, that was what started my journey towards financial freedom, where I was just like, the goal was 3K a month. And I realized that like, school didn't teach me the skills required to make income independently. The thing that school teaches us, as you guys might be familiar with, is like, school teaches us that in order to be independent, you need to be dependent on a single employer for your salary. And the only way really we're taught to make money is like, we're not even taught explicitly about money. Like school never teaches about mortgages, about like investing. It doesn't even teach us about the basics of budgeting or anything like that. It's just sort of a given that of course you're going to end up with a job. And like, you know, you go to good school, you get good grades, good university, good job, and then the happiness and success and stuff, right? That's kind of like the water that we are swimming in the education system. And so when I first came across Tim Ferriss's amazing book, The 4-Hour Workweek, back when I was age 18. Anyone here read 4-Hour Workweek? Nice, fantastic, great book. That basically turned me on to the idea that I could take my income generation into my own hands. And so I set the goal of £3,000 a month. I started off trying to figure out like, what the hell business idea can I start? I came up with this idea of like teaching courses for medical student applicants or whatever. And then that got me to the goal of 3K a month within like a year or two. In year one, we got like, you know, a few $1,000s and then a few £1,000s. And then in year two, I hit my goal. And it's sort of just been following that journey of like learning a bunch of skills, trying them out, putting random shit out there on the internet, hoping for the best, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And actually now over the last, it's 2025, I started that first business back in 2012. So I've now been doing this, trying to make money on the internet thing for 13 years. And now that, you know, whenever I do talks and stuff, it used to be that people would ask me about like how to study for exams, and then it was sort of like how to manage their time and how to be productive. Now the thing everyone really cares about is like, how do you actually make money? I think people are realizing, especially with AI, especially with like, you know, recessions and stuff, that what was once considered a secure job is now no longer that secure. I have lots of friends in medicine as well. You know, medicine was famously touted as like the most secure job on the planet. You know, you'll always have a job. And yes, you'll always have a job, but you might not always have a job where you want to work. I have friends who have spent years qualifying as doctors, and they really want to work in London. They want to get like a training post or a consultant post in London, but they can't because it's too competitive and there's not enough spaces, so they get shipped off to Aberdeen or something. Anyone from Aberdeen? Probably not, it's too far away. Further away than Brazil or the United States. And so one thing that one idea I've been noodling on is this idea of security. Like we all want security. Like I want security, we want financial security. We don't want to end up broke and homeless, obviously. But often security, like a maximum security job can sometimes be like a maximum security prison, because the more secure a job is, the less freedom it is likely to give you. And so if you're someone like me and you want security and also you want freedom as well, then you're kind of screwed if you follow the normal system, because the normal system does not optimize for giving you security and freedom at the same time. And this is really why I love entrepreneurship. I love the idea of building a business. I never really cared about it when I was a kid. I was never one of these people that was like, oh my God, I'm going to start my own business someday. Like the word business to me felt like, I don't know, you're opening up a factory or something. The word entrepreneur, I always had like a cringe response to, because I was like, you know, you'd see these like 14-year-olds kind of calling themselves entrepreneurs. But when I read the 4-Hour Workweek and I realized, holy shit, like this, if you can build something that allows you to generate income independently, and you can wrap that up in a structure that we call business because it's more tax efficient or whatever, then the amount of money you make is under your control. And the way in which you make that money is also under your control. It's really cool. Like, you then don't have a boss. You can choose your own hours. You can decide whether you want to be remote or in person or some kind of hybrid. And you basically have control over this like massively important part of our lives, which is money. That and sort of all of the skills that it takes to get there are just things that school never teaches us. And so over time I've learned these skills, and because I've always been interested in teaching, that's always been my thing. I about 6 months ago started seriously entertaining the thought of all these people are asking me about how to get financially free. What would it look like if I just actually tried to straight up talk about that stuff on the internet without feeling weird about it? Because I didn't want to be one of these get rich quick gurus or whatever. And since talking about the financial freedom stuff on the internet, we've had a really solid response. My YouTube channel was sort of floundering a bit when I was just talking about productivity, because boom, during the pandemic everyone wanted to be productive. And it's there's only so many productivity videos you can really watch before you kind of get the idea. You just have to sit down and fucking do the thing. And every video I was making, I was guys, just sit down and fucking do the thing. And then I'd see comments being bro is falling off, the content's so repetitive, this, that, and the other. And I started losing interest in the content. But then when we started making videos, actively trying to we did some interviews with some friends who'd made loads of money and sort of breaking down the process, I found that really energized me. I find it very interesting and very fun to teach people frameworks and stuff around financial freedom. And even earlier today, with Barb and Dan, who are at the back, we had lunch before this session and they were trying to make money. And so we were just sort of riffing on ideas and drawing little diagrams on the little notebook. And that kind of stuff really energizes me. So I realized that the thing I'm now obsessed with, other than money, is teaching other people how to make money. Because it's just really fun. It's really cool.
Oh, by the way, if you are enjoying this video and you happen to be a business owner, then you might like to check out QuickBooks, who are the very kind paid partners of the video. QuickBooks is a fantastic AI-powered accounting platform that really simplifies financial reporting. In my business, we've been using QuickBooks since 2019. We've been paying customers every year for the last 6 years. And QuickBooks is amazing. It makes my life a lot less stressful. It makes our team's life a lot less stressful. It makes our accountants very happy because now we actually have a proper system of bookkeeping, which we didn't have for the first 2 years that I was trying to run the business. The great thing about QuickBooks is that you can always pull up live dashboards to tell you exactly how the business is doing. And using QuickBooks, our accountants also can then generate monthly management accounts that include graphs of our profits and our expenses and our cost of sales and all of the relevant metrics, where instead of just seeing them through a bunch of line items on a spreadsheet, you can see them on a very nice pretty graph that helps you get real insights. QuickBooks helps you simplify absolutely everything from cash flow to managing tax and compliance and automating other business tasks. So if you would like to simplify your business's finances and get back many hours of your time every week that was otherwise spent dealing with all of the faff associated with financial management and accounting, then you should definitely check out QuickBooks, and there is a link in the video description if you would like to check it out. So thank you very much, QuickBooks, for sponsoring this segment of the video, and let's get back to it.
So to that end, given that we all want financial freedom, there are a few ideas I've been noodling on around financial freedom. Some of them are regurgitations of things that I've read in loads of business books. Some of them I think are vaguely original, although to be honest, there's no such thing as an original idea because everything is a remix, etc., etc. But I would like to share a few ideas that might be interesting in terms of if you have a goal of financial freedom, how do you actually get there? How do you think about it? And then what are the actions you need to take to make it happen? The first thing to say is, there's a nice thing that I read in a book by a guy called Jim Rohn about ideas, is that you can think of ideas almost like a sort of combination lock. And the right idea that hits you at the right time can actually just unlock the thing. So for example, let's say you have a combination lock that has 8 different thingies on it. And actually maybe throughout your life, or when you were at school or university, in your job or whatever, and so these random stuff you've read, random podcasts you've listened to, maybe you've picked up 7 of the locks, but the thing is still not unlocked because you have the 8th one. And then if the right idea hits you at the right time, this is why you could read a book and it can change your life, but someone else could read that book and leave it a 1-star Amazon review. Because the right idea at the right time can sort of be this, can unlock the combination lock and then lead you to the life that you want or whatever goal you have, or get rich or whatever, whatever the thing is. And so I am a big fan of collecting ideas, not because they might become immediately useful right now, but because over time, as you collect more ideas, you sort of start to assemble the tapestry of lock-picking kind of, or combination locks. And eventually something clicks. And for me, when I was I started trying to make websites on the internet when I was 13 and stuff. And those random shitty websites I made when I was a kid unlocked certain bits of the combination lock. And then when I was 18 and really decided to take making money seriously, that was the final thing in the combination that unlocked this sort of £3,000 a month, somewhat passive income stream that I built at university. And then other ideas around building a YouTube channel and things and listening to podcasts about it unlocked a new thing. So I say all of that to sort of preface the sharing of ideas in that, like, I'm going to share a few ideas, and what I really hope will happen is that for some of you, an idea that I might share here or an idea that you might pick up through the exercises we're going to do or through the conversations that we're going to have, I really hope that there might be an idea that hits you at the right time, that unlocks that final bit of the combination lock for whatever goal you're working towards. And then maybe you'll come up to us in the next event that we do next year or whatever and be like, oh my God, like the event in 2025 in the summer, that really changed my business or changed my income trajectory or whatever because I got the right idea at the right time. So with all that said, I would like to share a few ideas. One idea that I've really been noodling on is that it's really an incredible time to be alive in 2025 because if your goal is financial freedom, then there's literally never in history been a better time and an easier time to get to financial freedom. And it's almost like a video game. It's almost like a video game. And the reason it's almost like a video game is that because, in a video game, you press some keys and you move your mouse. And if you press the keys and move your mouse in the right kind of order and in the right kind of sequence, you end up getting points in the video game. The cool thing about starting an online business is that you open up your computer, and if you press some keys and move your mouse around in the right kind of order, you end up just getting rich. Which is kind of weird, right? Like, the guys who founded Instagram back in the day, which sold to Facebook for like $1 billion, it was a team of like 10 people. They sat around an office, pressed some keys, moved a mouse around a bit for like 3 years, and then they sold to Facebook for $1 billion. The team of 19 people that built WhatsApp sat around on their laptops, pressing some keys, moving a mouse around, sold to Facebook for $19 billion. It's pretty incredible what you can do if you just press some keys and move a mouse around in the right kind of order. And so even if you're not like Instagram or WhatsApp, even if you are, quote, just a lifestyle business, if you're a business that only makes 6 figures a year in profit but gives you fun, freedom, flexibility, having an online lifestyle business, you're basically just like sitting on a computer, tapping some keys, moving your mouse, doing things in the right order for a long enough time, and then suddenly you're making like 6 figures a year in profit and you're able to have fun, freedom, and flexibility, financial freedom, the dream. All it takes is just pressing the right freaking keys in the right freaking order. Like that's mental. That's like a video game. And so really, the only difference between someone making no money and someone making 100K and someone making $100, someone making $1 million, someone making $10 million is just the order of the keys that they press on their keyboard, right? Because if you press these in the right order, you build something like Instagram. If you press keys in a different kind of order, you build something like an online course business. If you press keys in a different kind of order, you build something like writing a book. If you press keys in a different kind of order, maybe you build like some micro software thing. If you press keys in the right kind of order and you're open to being on a Zoom call, maybe you can sell coaching as a service, like, whatever the thing might be. The only difference that separates us or you from the people that are making way more money and financially free is the order of the keys that they pressed. And I think that's just mental. That's really cool. So it's just about learning what order to press the keys in. That can't be that hard, right? It's just the order of keys. This kind of made me realize, like, I used to think that making money was about luck. That like, all these, you have to be in the right place at the right time, this, then, the other. And I've been reading a book called Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb, which is very good. And he's like this trader guy who like analyzes the shit out of like random events and luck and things like that. And one of his hot takes, which I really agree with, is that wild outlier success, quite a lot of that can be attributed to luck. But like mild success can broadly be attributed to skills. Mild success versus wild success. Jeff Bezos probably wouldn't be able to create another Amazon because Amazon is a wild success. It's like a $1 trillion company, right place at the right time, market conditions were perfect, etc., etc. If any of us had the idea to create the next Instagram, it would be hard because they had right place, right time. There was quite a lot of luck to get an outcome like Instagram. But a 6-figure lifestyle business that makes like, 100K, 300K a year in profit, that lets you, work 30 hours a week on your own terms, that's actually not wildly successful by entrepreneurial standards. That's kind of mid, as the Gen Zs say. It's like not even that good. It's like people in Silicon Valley would look down upon you if you, quote, only had a lifestyle business that's making 6 figures a year in profit. But I suspect for most of us, if we had a lifestyle business that was making over £100,000 a year in profit, that let you have fun, freedom, and flexibility, that would be the dream. That would be fucking sick. So actually, for most of us, we're not actually going after wild success. We're going after mild success in the domain of entrepreneurship, which means it's not actually about luck. It really is just about skill. Jeff Bezos had a lot of luck. Every single person in this room does not need to rely on luck in order to become financially free. If you define financially free as 6-figure lifestyle business, or even 7, Once you're getting into the $10 million, $100 million a year territory, that's when it starts to be more like outlier success, more like wild success. There's a big component of luck there. But for most of us, it's not actually about luck, it's about skills. And coming back to this thing around tapping the keys, if you learn skills, the skills in online business and stuff is basically just changing the order of keys that you type on your keyboard. Like if someone has no skills and or simply knows how to operate a keyboard, how to operate a computer, they open the computer, the keys they type are youtube.com, and then they just click and watch and click and watch. Or they go on their phone and they just tap on TikTok and they just scroll. But if someone does have certain skills, if you have the skill of like finding your niche or idea generation or product validation or offer design or landing page design or copywriting or like how to make a website or how to code, these skills basically just teach you a different order of keys to type on your keyboard. And then you can use those to get rich rather than just browse YouTube videos or whatever people are doing who don't have those skills. So when I realized this, that making money is basically a skills problem rather than a luck problem, that changed my life, because skills can be learned. Everything is a skill. Everything that is a skill can be learned. There are no skills that are so innate, and yeah, maybe there's some kind of talent, but like no one comes out of the womb knowing how to copyright, right? No one comes out of the womb knowing how to kind of make a website. These are all skills that people have picked up. I think a lot of people have a limiting belief that, oh, I could never learn to code. It's like, bro, you learned how to drive. Like, how hard can learning how to code be? Learning how to code is pressing keys in the right order. At least when you're driving, you're using all of your senses. But a lot of us, I think, especially as I speak to people who are older and more like established in their careers, often a lot of doctors that I speak to feel like, oh man, I only have skill set A and I could never learn skill set B, C, D, or E. But now this is just like free tutorials everywhere on the internet. Everything is a skill, everything can be learned. And when I started thinking about it as literally just the order of keys that I type on the keyboard, I was like, oh, I mean, it's really not that hard to learn. It's actually fairly straightforward. So it's just a skills problem. And so from the age of 18 up until like now I'm 31, whoa, I'm old, age 18 to 31, just taught myself the skills. And the nice thing about teaching yourself skills is you can do it on the side. You can do it in the weekends, you can do it in the evenings. You know, lots of people teach themselves how to cook or how to play the guitar. It's not that hard. There's YouTube tutorials about all of this stuff. You can watch Instagram reels about it. You teach yourself certain skills. When you get into a relationship, you learn the skills of communication, hopefully. When you have a kid, you learn the skills of like how to burp them and how to put them to bed and all that crap. And you didn't know those previously, but then you learn the skills. And so similarly, there are skills that help you look after your child. There are skills that help you, negotiate a raise at work. There are skills that help you learn how to drive or play the guitar. There are also skills that get you rich. And those skills are very much worth learning if you care about financial freedom, because it's literally just a skills problem. So what are the skills that get you rich? I think there are only really a finite number of them. And I have this kind of diagram that I've been sort of noodling on for a while. Bearing in mind that I'm defining skill as knowing what order of keys to press on your keyboard, right? Really not complicated, really not hard. I think if you ask someone like, coding as a skill, feels like such a black box. But I find for me that when I think of it as, I just need to learn the order of keys to press. It just sort of removes the complexity and the fear around like learning a new skill. So there's this thing that we want, which is, let's say it's a 6-fig lifestyle business. It's not going to get you on the Forbes rich list. It's not going to get you to a $1 zillion exit. But 6 figures in profit every year in a way that's optimized for the lifestyle you want to live, it's a pretty good gig. We can start with that as our goal, and then we can scale it up to 7 figures. Very hard to scale a lifestyle business beyond about 5 to 10 million a year. Very hard. But if you're okay with making less than 5 million a year, it's fine. We're good with lifestyle businesses. If you want to make more than 5 million a year, we probably don't want to do lifestyle businesses, and we should probably do something else. I generally find that there's sort of 3 main kind of obstacles that hold people back. The first one we can call the idea problem. This is, but what the hell would I actually sell? I have no ideas. I don't know what my niche is going to be. I don't feel I have any marketable skills. I don't feel I have any expertise. Like, oh my God, so many ideas. I've watched the YouTube videos. They say do affiliate marketing. They say start a social media marketing agency. They say do AI automation. They say learn to code. I saw this interview from this guy who was like doing high ticket sales. Like, oh my God, I just don't know what my idea is going to be. You know what? I'm just going to do loads more research. That's the problem. I'm just going to research, and eventually maybe I'll stumble on the right kind of business idea. This is the idea problem that gets in people's way when they're trying to build a 6-figure lifestyle business. The next problem you have after the idea problem is like, let's say I did have an idea. Let's say I don't know, have an idea for a product or a service or something. You then run into the sales problem, which is that, bro, I can have an idea all I want, but why the fuck would anyone actually buy it? How am I going to get people to buy it? I don't have a big social media following, so like, how the hell do you get people to buy shit? And like, why would anyone want to buy from me? It's so saturated out there. Like, there's so many other people also offering the same widget or service or whatever, XYZ, ABC. How the hell will I get people to even pay me for something? Oh my God, it feels so scary. Like, why would someone do that? Like, I wouldn't pay me, so why would they pay me? That is kind of problem number 2. Having spoken to loads of people about this, that people run into. And then problem number 3, broadly, it's like, okay, maybe I've got the right kind of idea. Maybe I've figured out a way to sell it to people. But then you have number 3, the time problem. Of like, okay, but how the hell do I do all of this shit alongside my day job? Like, I've got a job, I've got responsibilities, I might have kids, I've got like stuff to do, I have family obligations on the weekends. Sometimes it's not even a time problem, sometimes it's an energy problem. Like maybe I've got a few hours when the kid goes to sleep, but then by that time it's 8 p.m. and I'm knackered, I don't have the energy, and I don't have the motivation, this, that, and the other. Like these 3 problems in my experience are like the main things that hold people back from getting to this dream goal of 6-figure lifestyle business. Don't know what to sell. Even if I did, why the hell would anyone buy it? I don't know how to sell it. And even if I was able to do that, like I just don't have time, energy, focus, motivation to be able to actually do it for a long enough time to see results. And I think the solution to all of these is basically comes down to skills. There are just some skills that you learn to solve the idea problem, to solve the sales problem, and to solve the time problem. And everything that is a skill can be learned, pretty much. Especially all of this stuff. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, let's do a little solo exercise. Okay, everyone, you're going to need a piece of paper, something to write with, something to write on. There is papers and pens around you if you do not have a notebook. If you do have a notebook, please take out your notebook. We're going to do a bit of a sort of like solo brainstormy type exercise, which is, the first question is, what is your goal as it relates to like this sort of stuff? We're focusing on like the work category of life. Maybe you have goals around family and stuff, but like we're focused on the work thing because that's what we're about kind of. What is your goal? Is it a 6-figure lifestyle business? Is it $1 million business? Is it like a $10 million exit? Like putting a number on it is also quite useful. How much money would you like to be making? How much money, if you could wave a magic wand and within, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, you were making X amount of money, what would be an amount that you think, damn, that would be really, really cool if I was able to make X amount of money on my own terms within a reasonable time frame, shall we say a few years? What is the number? Don't worry, the number's going to change. As you get closer to the number, you'll realize, you know what, that number's not quite enough. But for now, it's always good to have a record of what you thought was a good number. It's always good to know that back when you were 18, you thought £3,000 a month was, man, if I could make £3,000 a month, I'd never want for anything else in my life ever again. What is the number? Usually in my experience, people struggle to write down a number because they're like, do I go 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million? Do I go like monthly? Do I go like 10K a month, 30K a month? Are we talking profit, pre-tax profit? It doesn't matter. Just like write down a number and you know in your own heart, like whether you're referring to USD or GBP or euros or like post-tax or like, are you going to move to Dubai and then have no tax? Although they've got tax now, all of that. We're going to write down a number. So now we have a goal. So the question is, what are the main 3 things that are holding you back from achieving that goal? Why are you not already there? You don't have to copy what I've said. This is just an amalgamation of like what I hear from other people. But like for you personally, what are the 3 reasons why you're not already there? Why are you not already at your goal? Hopefully that was vaguely useful and interesting, hearing, reflecting on your own goal, hearing about other people's goals. I'd love to hear from 1 or 2 of you. Anyone feel like sharing their goal and their obstacles, just for the vibes? All right, we've got Jacob over here. Oh no, David. David's standing up. Here you go, David. David, what's your goal and what are the obstacles?
So my goal would be 100K profit. That's my ultimate
Like
goal.
per month or per year? Or?
Per year.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and Robin was helping me through my 1K goal, and so that was to help my fellow students. So in a span of like 2 years or so, I was just consulting for free, like for like every call I've made would be like 1 to 2 hours, but it was like basically free. I've made like 15, 20 calls, and then he was like, you know what, you just start charging for that, and then yeah, to get nice out of that.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. Can we have a round of applause for David, please? Well done, David. Actually, hang on. Who else wants to share what's your goal and what's the obstacle? Let's have a non-male. Do we have any? Nice. What's your name? What's your goal? And what are the obstacles?
Hello. So my name is Tiana.
Tiana, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Tiana, what is your goal and what are the obstacles?
My goal is to have a 5 million business in 5 years. Value. Let's say.
5 million in 5 years. Yeah. Nice, very cool. And then what are the obstacles?
Obstacle number 1 is my personality. I'm very shy, very, very shy, and.
It doesn't seem like it. You're up here talking to everyone.
Yeah, I'm working on it. And so raising my hand is one of the many small challenges I do.
Nice.
To overcome my shyness. And second one is productivity, time. I spend some time just on Netflix and doing other stuff than working on my business. And the third one is a bit health-related problems. Yeah.
Nice. And are these things that you're actively working on?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Round of applause for Tiana. Thank you, Tiana. Okay, nice. That's really cool. So hopefully it was vaguely useful or interesting, sharing, like writing down your goal, the obstacles, sharing it with the people around you. I think one of the things that I really like about doing events like this and like the sort of, as you sort of progress in your entrepreneur journey, it's really, really helpful to make friends who are also on the same journey. Because if you were to have the audacity, if Tiana has a day job and says to her colleagues, man, my goal is a 5 million business in the next 5 years, I'm sure Tiana has very supportive friends and colleagues who would say, you go girl, that's amazing, that's incredible. But if she's not in the United States, then in most other parts of the world, you would get weird responses that like, stay in your lane, isn't that really risky? What, you're going to lose all your money? What, are we not good enough for you, Tiana? Or whatever, whatever people might say. But when you have a community of other friends who are on the same journey, other entrepreneurs and creators and stuff, and you say something like, yeah, I want to make 100K profit working 4 hours a week. People are like, nice, fair enough. It might be hard doing 4 hours, but maybe 8 hours, you can probably do that. When you say you want a $5 million business in 5 years, when you're with the right sort of people, they're like, great, that's fantastic. Let's make it happen. And so that's why I think sort of over time, it's just very, very useful to develop a community of friends who are doing the same thing. It's a big part of why we do these events. We don't make any money from the events, but it's just vibes. And it's always nice when people get to know each other. And then we sometimes get emails being like, oh, I'm still friends with Johnny, who I met 3 years ago at your Hyde Park picnic. And we're like, oh, nice. And like Johnny and I are accountability buddies and we have like weekly Zoom calls and stuff. That is the sort of stuff that is disproportionately effective when it comes to kind of sticking it out on this journey.
Oh, quick thing. If you happen to be enjoying this little video so far, I would love to hear in the comments what is one thing that has most resonated with you up until this point. Really helpful for me to know, and my team are in the process of collating all of the comments from the previous Freedom Friday videos that we're going to then be addressing in follow-up videos. And secondly, just wanted to let you know that my team and I are currently building out a new mentorship program where the whole idea is that we help aspiring entrepreneurs, perhaps aspiring entrepreneurs like you, build a $100,000 a year lifestyle business in under 12 months, guaranteed. If that sounds good and you would like to build a $100,000 a year lifestyle business in under 12 months, guaranteed, then there'll be more information in the video description to find out more about this program and to potentially apply for it if you would like.
A couple of other things, a couple of other ideas I wanted to share before I kind of go into the specific ways of how to solve these idea problems. And these are the 4 S's. The 4 S's. I've talked about these in the 1K challenge, so apologies if this is revision, which is strategy. Generally, I would define as knowing what to do. You got skills, which is knowing how to do it, what order of keys to press on the keyboard in order to get to the thing that you're trying to do, which is the strategy. This stuff is very figure-outable, right? Strategy and skills. It's very straightforward by reading enough books, watching YouTube videos, taking courses like ours to figure out like what to do and how to do it. This is where like coaches are really helpful. If you have like, I know we've got a couple of business coaches here and stuff. It's like they can help you with figuring out what to do and how to actually do it. Just like if you were trying to learn the guitar, you'd probably find a teacher either on the internet through YouTube videos or in person who could teach you what to do and then how to do it and like give you like a practice regimen and stuff. It's the same kind of thing in business, which is why I'm so bullish on people having mentors, people having coaches. You don't have to pay for mentors and coaches. You can if you want. You generally get a better service if you do. But there's loads of mentors and coaches in free YouTube videos, in free podcasts, in very cheap audiobooks, and very cheap books on Kindle and stuff. So often you can, people sometimes ask me like, oh, how do I find a mentor? It's like, to be honest, most of my mentors are books and podcasts, books in particular, because especially audiobooks. Audiobooks are phenomenal because in an audiobook, there's so much work that goes into it and you can listen to it in such a short amount of time and you just download that person's like brain into your brain. And it's just like, it's like having a firmware update in terms of like strategy and skills. So these are two of the S's, strategy and skills. But then there are two more, which is starting. So it's like strategy is knowing what to do, skills are knowing how to do it. Starting is like actually doing it. And then sustaining is doing it for long enough to see results. And a lot of people get stuck on both of these things. I think with the starting problem, this is why we did this thing like this 1K challenge. It's like 6 weeks to try and make $1,000. And it's not really about the $1,000. It's about like basically forcing people to like set up a Stripe account, like connect it to the thing and like deal with all of the annoying friction that you have to do depending on which country you're in around like connecting your Stripe account to like your bank account and stuff. It's really annoying to do. And that holds so many people back from ever starting a business and ever starting their journey to financial freedom, because they've got this blocker in their mind of like, oh, but I need to talk to an accountant. It's like, bro, talk to the accountant. Like, start your journey, man. It's not that hard. So starting really kind of trips a lot of people up. As this thing I've been thinking about a lot as well around like, if you were a good student, like I was, and you ticked all the boxes and you did all the things, the skills to be a good entrepreneur are kind of the opposite of the skills to be a good student. In particular, the idea problem, I find, holds a lot of good students back. Because it's like, oh man, I need to find the perfect idea. I need to find the perfect niche. And if I don't want to waste time on a niche that might not work out. I don't want to ever have to pivot. I want the right answer from day one. Unfortunately, school teaches us to get the right answer from day one. But with entrepreneurship, there's no such thing as the right answer. It's a case of building something people want, selling it to them, delivering on that, and then sort of iterating and refining this over time. And the more like turns of this wheel you actually go through, the more likely you are to get somewhere. Whereas in school, you're only allowed to submit the assignment once. And so I generally find that like smart, educated, very good looking professionals like you guys generally get very stuck on actually taking action, not because you're an idiot, but because you're sort of like on the other end of the IQ curve where it's like so much analysis and so much like, I have to get the right answer because back in school, if anything less than 100% and like my mum would have beaten me or whatever. No, I think that's just me. We're so obsessed with getting the right answer that we stay stuck on finding the perfect idea, and there's no such thing as a perfect idea. There's almost no entrepreneur in the world, or almost no one who's currently financially free, if they got there through their own like work, who got there from their very first idea. And the way I often think of it is like, the car you're probably driving is probably not the car you learned to drive in. The car you learned to drive in was probably on driving instructors like Vauxhall Corsa or whatever at the test center, and maybe you're driving a different car now. The musical instrument that you tried out when you were a kid is, if you're a professional musician, might not be the one that you got to virtuoso level at. You maybe tried out a bunch of different things. The first sport you ever played is probably not for most people the sport that they end up like really enjoying or getting really passionate about, or even becoming a professional in. Often there's like a sampling process of trying a bunch of different things, and then you pick the thing that works for you, and you stick to it for a long time. So I find that a lot of good students get stuck at the starting line, and then sustaining, like sticking at it for long enough, for years, before you see results. You can often see like small amounts of results from day one. You can often get a sense within a few weeks of, is there like some kind of positive signal from the market that the market actually wants what you're selling? Is there like, maybe if you're starting a YouTube channel completely from scratch and you've like sent it around to a few people, is there like one comment on the video saying, wow, that's really helpful? It's probably not gonna get to like millions of views on day one, but what you're looking for is these like small, slow little green lights that suggest that you're sort of on the right path. And as you get more of those, then the goal is to sort of like keep going with the thing enough to experience the compounding returns that happen. And a lot of the compounding returns happen once you've found the thing that you want to do from actually just sticking to it for a long time. I have some sort of a hot take, which is that almost any niche can get you to 6 figures in profit. Almost any niche. So when people are like, oh, is my niche working XYZ, like almost any niche can get you to 6 figures in profit, unless you are literally selling to homeless people who don't have any money. But even then, you could turn that into a non-profit and get funding from the government, and then you could get to 6 figures in profit. Like even in that extreme situation, you can get to 6 figures in profit. I generally don't recommend selling to students because students famously don't have money. But my first business was selling to students, and it got to 6 figures in profit. Like it's really not that hard to get to 6 figures in profit. Any niche can get you there. The problem is people overthink the niche thing and they never start, or they keep on changing the niche before they've actually given it a chance to work. Pretty much anything can get you to 6 figures in profit, broadly, within reason. So these are the 4 S's: strategy, skills, starting, and sustaining. And like listening to business audiobooks and reading books about business gets you quite a lot of the strategy and skills because you hear from how other people did it, and they write books about the thing, even though they don't make much money from writing the books, because writing a book is just like a fun thing that people sometimes like to do. So you can just learn from a lot of people's experience through that. Loads of big entrepreneurs have been on all the big podcasts. You can listen to all the podcasts. Like there's so much you can consume for free that helps you sort of at least learn what to do. And then actually just learning the skills just comes down to putting into practice and like iterating a few times. Kind of like riding a bike, right? Like you could read lots of books about riding a bike and get the theory and stuff, but you kind of have to get on the bike and fall off a few times in order to develop the skills of riding the bike. And you can get this all for free by just like watching stuff on the internet and doing stuff, or you can sign up to our courses, or you can get a coach or whatever. And then starting and sustaining, this is really where the community piece helps. Where it's just genuinely hard to do unless you're very, very, very self-motivated if you don't have friends who are also doing the same thing. For me, I didn't really have any friends. I don't really have any friends. I didn't really have any friends who were doing the same thing when I started my YouTube channel. So for me, I had to make do with podcasts about growing on YouTube, and I was listening to those on my drives to and from like hospital placements. And that, you know, this whole thing of you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with and stuff, you can override those 5 people by just listening to loads of podcasts. And so if you end up listening to loads of entrepreneur podcasts, you kind of start to think like them. If you end up listening to loads of YouTuber podcasts, you start to end up thinking like them. And so if you curate your consumption feed so that the information that's going into your brain is actually aligned with the goal that you have, then you're just way more likely to get there compared to someone else who's like, their 5 primary voices are their friends who think that starting a YouTube channel is weird and cringe and like, oh my God, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? You're going to lose all your money. What's wrong with you? All of that kind of stuff. That's like having a massive headwind that's like blowing in your face and holding you back from getting to the goal. Whereas if you can sort of align the voices in your mind and the voices around you so that they're actually helping you get to the goal, you're way more likely to succeed. So this is like kind of like the 4 S's: strategy, skills, starting, sustaining. Ultimately, it comes back down to typing keys on a keyboard because that's really all that the skills are. I think the final thing I wanted to say before we will do some more exercises and stuff is like, okay, then, so what are these skills? Because we've kind of been quite high level, and we're going to continue to be at high level because obviously I can't give everyone personalized business advice, at least not right now. But generally, these are all like learnable things. Is there a pen of a different color? Maybe this blue one. Let's try this. So within ideas, it's like the goal really is to get okay, this is a bit dodge, but maybe you can write it in your own notes. Compelling products. That's really the goal. You want to figure out what you can sell that is compelling to the person in the target audience. This is about identifying your niche. This is about doing some idea generation. This is about doing some idea validation. And this is about learning how to craft what they call an offer, which is like what actually is the thing. Niche, idea generation, idea validation, and offer design. Very tangible skills. Very learnable. You could even just go to ChatGPT and basically ask it to teach you these skills, or ask it to like interview you and stuff and help you figure this out. As part of our 1K challenge, I made a couple of custom GPTs, which are remarkably effective at helping people figure out their niche or figuring out what product to make. And it's so easy to do this these days with AI. You can just have a chat with ChatGPT or Claude. And Claude can be your business coach if you really wanted to. I use Claude more than my business coach. I pay my business coach $3,000 a month, and I pay, Anthropic $20 a month, and I get more value out of my Claude subscription than I do out of my $3,000 a month business coach. Don't tell them I said that. Sometimes I'll often even, like, in a way, for me now, the point of my business coaching sessions, it's less about the session and more about the transcript of the session, which I then put into Claude and get it, and then and then I spend hours with that transcript because I've only got an hour with a business coach like every other week. But I put the transcript into Claude, and then it just really helps me think through how to think about creating compelling products. So you want to go from not having ideas, not sure what you want, to at least having some sense of who can you help, what can you help them with, and how might you be able to help them. This is what I call the holy trinity of like the person, the outcome, and the solution. Or like the person, the problem, and the solution. Every single business is like a combination of like, there is someone out there, they want something, they can't get it, and so your business is the thing that helps them get to what they want. And so that's all skills that can be learned fairly easily. A lot of people are worried that like, oh, I don't have any expertise. But you definitely do. It's just about finding like different ways of thinking about this. Like, for example, most of you have jobs. Your employer is paying you to do something, right? Which means you are adding value to the market in some way already. So that's a skill that you have that you could just freelance if you really wanted to. Instead of like, essentially, if you have a job, you're basically an entrepreneur. You have one client, and that's your boss, and you don't have much flexibility and stuff, and you're paid for your time rather than paid for your results. But it's not that much of a step from being an entrepreneur with one client to being an entrepreneur with 2 clients. That's called a freelancer. When you're kind of doing the same shit that you were doing for your employer, now you're doing it for like multiple people. This is how most of my former team members and some current team members are getting rich, because they do something for me. They slap the name Ali Abdaal on their CVs or on their YouTube channels, and then they're like, hey, I did X for Ali Abdaal, I can do X for you too. And then 10 people will reach out to them on LinkedIn, or 100 people, and be like, I want you to do X for me 3. And then they end up having like a bunch of clients doing the same sort of stuff. And for each client, they're probably able to charge maybe like a third as much as I was paying them, but they can get 10 clients at the same time, which means they're able to make 3 times as much. And then they'll message my current team members being like, oh my God, you guys have no idea how much money we're making being freelancers. And then my current team members will be like, wait a minute, are we missing a trick? Why the f*** are we still full-time employees? And I'm like, guys, don't listen to them. Close your ears when you hear me talk about the power of having your own lifestyle business. Because please keep working for me, kind of thing. But no. So sometimes people ask me, like, well, they'll see these videos going viral, they're like, why I quit working for Ali Abdaal? And they're always nice, thankfully. Like, no one's done an expose yet. And I think people think I feel bad about it, but I feel very good about it, because to me, it sort of feels like the thing I like doing is teaching, right? And so if someone can join our team, work for us for a few years, hopefully at least a few years, and then go off and do their own thing, then it's almost like they've sort of graduated from like the university of the Ali Abdaal team. At least that's how I think about it. Maybe that's just a cope, but like it actually does genuinely feel good to know that like there's these dozen people out there who have all sort of gotten their reps in, working as part of our team, and now we're doing it for other clients and doing their own businesses, living the dream life. I love that shit. Anyway, so that's like, you learn the skill of figuring out your niche, idea generation, idea validation, and offer design. There are books about all of this stuff. There are books that cover all of them in one go. You can talk to ChatGPT, it's not that hard. And you end up with one compelling product. It could be a product or a service. Generally, services are easier if you're getting started out, but products are a bit more passive. There's all sorts of, trade-offs between services and products, which there's lots of content about on the internet if you would like to explore it, and stuff that we talk about in our courses too. So you've got compelling products over there. Then, when you solve the problem of sales, you end up with what I like to think of as magnetic marketing. And I like thinking of it in that way because it's alliterative. Magnetic marketing, it sounds cool. But also, I like the word magnetic because it implies, like, really what you're doing with marketing and sales is you're not trying to shove something down someone's throat. This was my worry when it came to selling stuff. Oh my God, I don't want to be sleazy. I don't want to be salesy. But magnetic marketing is when you're putting stuff out there that is somewhat educational in nature, and the right kind of clients, the right kind of customers are being magnetically attracted to your orbit by virtue of the stuff that you put out there. There are only really 3 ways to get customers. Only 3. You can either post content, you can pay money to run ads, or you can spend loads of time doing one-on-one outreach. Literally just 3. Only 3 ways to get customers. So sometimes we get the question of like, oh, I want to get financial freedom, but I don't want to put my face out there on the internet. I don't want to do content. I hate social media. It's like, okay, so you're deleting one of the 3 methods of being able to get customers, which is fine. You could totally build a business if you had money to run ads. And if you're selling an expensive enough thing, it could be totally reasonable for you to just do one-on-one outreach. For example, Dan, who is our current like webmaster and like legal, finance, HR, and everything head who keeps me out of jail with all of the tax kind of stuff that he makes sure we are compliant on. Dan side hustles as helping people sort of improve the conversion rates on their website so they can make more money. That's an offer that Dan could sell for $5,000 a month. Now in that case, when you're selling a $5,000 a month thing, you don't need that many clients to have a six-figure lifestyle business. You need like 2 or 3. Like that's it. And then you have a six-figure lifestyle business. And so you don't need, like Dan was saying over lunch, man, Ali, I really don't want to do social media. I fucking hate LinkedIn. You know, I don't want to be cringe. And I'm like, Dan, you know what? When you're selling something for 5K, you actually don't need to do social media content marketing. You can totally just do warm outreach. You can just reach out to people, send emails and stuff. And if you're into that, all you need is 3 clients. And now you have your six-figure lifestyle business because you are charging $5,000 a month. But if you're charging $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 for something, it's very hard to get the customers you want through warm outreach or even cold outreach. It's probably annoying. Most people don't dream about sending cold emails. And so unless you have money to spend, you're either gonna, then in which case you run ads, you're kind of gonna have to do the content thing. Almost every successful business is doing content in some capacity. If you're not doing content, you're kind of leaving a lot of money on the table. And it's also quite fun, and you can find a way to do it that's fun. And so then that becomes like magnetic marketing. Basically, 3 methods of content, ads, and outreach. And then there's a 4th, which is sort of like a middle of the funnel thing, as they call it, which is sort of email marketing. Content, ads, outreach, and emails. Just 4 skills. And you don't even have to do I've never done outreach personally, because I was always not a fan of that. And we also don't really run many ads. Like you can get by with just the content thing, but you can sort of supercharge it if you do content plus ads. Maybe if you do a little bit of outreach and a little bit of email marketing, it's just all of these skills just sort of stack on top of each other. And so another thing that I often hear people worry about is like, oh, I don't want to waste time pursuing the wrong idea or pursuing the wrong niche. Like, what if I waste time? And it's like, you're not wasting time. Think of it as investing time in your education. Every time you try something, even if it doesn't work, you are learning skills. And those skills stack up over time. I was making websites for like $5 an hour back when I was 13. I had no idea that those same skills I would still be using in 2025 when we're looking at like our WordPress installations to see how we can how we can make more revenue from our courses and how we can streamline our website. It's like you just never know where the skills are going to be helpful. But by doing stuff and stacking up the skills, and doing it for a long enough time, you eventually end up in a very good place. And then when you connect the dots looking backwards, you're like, damn, that random shit that I learned. Like, there's an example from Steve Jobs where he randomly did a typography class when he was in college. And then like 20 years later, when he got fired from Apple and came back in and they were designing the interface for like the Mac or whatever, the typography was the thing that really stood out because he took this random typography class like 30 years in the past. So you just never know when the skills that you learn are going to come in handy. So you go from having a problem with sales to magnetic marketing through content, ads, emails, and maybe outreach if you really feel like it. And one thing that you can kind of do with all this stuff, and why I like a model like this, is once you identify the skills, you can almost like kind of traffic light yourself on them. You can kind of see, okay, for me, what are the areas that are green? What are the areas that are yellow? What are the areas that are red? And what are the areas that are currently non-existent? And then you're like, all right, cool. Now I've got a roadmap. Now I know exactly what skills to focus on. And you can kind of figure out a sensible order. Which then, again, sort of demystifies some of the fog around this whole, like, how do you actually get to financial freedom? So that is the sales problem. And then the time problem. I kind of think of this as in 2 ways. Like, there's sort of like the personal version of this. Like, especially early on in a business's sort of trajectory, a lot of it just comes down to your personal productivity. Like, how good are you at managing the 3 fundamental resources of time, energy, and focus? If you're really good at managing your time, you are more likely to get to financial freedom quicker than someone who's really shit at managing their time. If you know if you know what brings you energy, and you actually consistently do energizing things, like for a lot of people, you get energy. You probably don't get much energy from like browsing TikTok for an hour, but you probably do get energy out of going for a walk in the park, especially when the weather is nice. So it's like if you're just doing more of the things that bring you energy, you're just going to have way more energy. If you're like 18 and you don't have an energy problem, actually even 18-year-olds are struggling because they spend 7 hours a day on TikTok. But like, when you're young, you really don't have an energy problem. As you get older, as I've been finding out recently, you start to have more of an energy problem, and you start to just, it's not unsolvable. There are loads of entrepreneurs who are like in their 40s, 50s, and that kind of thing. I think average age of starting a business in the UK is like 40-something, 50-something. Someone can correct me if you have the stat on that. It's like surprisingly old. Because you often hear in the news about like the 19-year-olds and the college dropouts and stuff like that. So as you get older, you start to have to be more intentional about energy management. But it's also not that hard. People figure it out. And then focus. You have to be able to just when you figure out what the goal is and actually just take action on the thing for like half an hour without getting distracted by anything else. And it is amazing how much progress you can make with half an hour of focused effort. And if you do half an hour of focused effort every day, man, that's like, what is it, like 3.5 hours a week of focused effort on like a thing. And that's often what it takes to get something from 0 to 1. It's not that hard. It's just that a lot of people, especially nowadays, have lost the skill of being able to focus on something, just do the thing for like half an hour. So once you've figured out this is why I got obsessed with productivity when I was 18, because I didn't actually care about productivity. What I cared about was financial freedom. What I cared about was my £3,000 a month goal. But then I realized very quickly that, at medical school, I no longer had all the free time that I did when I was in high school. I actually wanted to do well in my exams, and I had classes, and I had placements, and I wanted to hang out with friends, and I wanted to try out new hobbies like guitar and taekwondo and singing and a cappella and stuff like that. And so when you run into the problem where there are only 24 hours in the day, you have to, and like my thing was, I need to build my freedom engine, £3,000 a month, I need to learn skills. And I was like, okay, that was what got me into the sort of rabbit hole of figuring out what are the most efficient ways to study? How do I save time on that front? In what order of operations should I do? I realized that to conserve my energy, I actually didn't care about going to 9 o'clock lectures. So I would just not wake up at 9 a.m. because my chronotype or whatever. And so I'd wake up at 11 a.m. instead and just skip the lecture and then catch up on it afterwards. It's like these little things. I found Pomodoro technique, or like working with friends in the library, or like I made like a playlist on Spotify with all this like film music that's now been downloaded like 100,000 times because people are always like, wait, well, have you got a playlist for your music? I've just been listening to that same playlist since like 2013 or something because it helps me focus when I'm in the library with friends. So it's like you figure out how to manage your time, energy, and focus. And then that is just a massive multiplier in what you can do, just in life and generally. But if you care about the goal of financial freedom through a 6-figure lifestyle business, it's a massive multiplier on how quickly you can get there. And so that kind of solves the time problem, at least somewhat, especially while you still have a job, while you're working on the thing. And then at a certain point, the business becomes sufficiently successful, and then your own personal productivity is still important, but it actually becomes more important for you to generate ideas. For your team to execute on. And then so the time problem gets solved by delegation, automation, systemization, documentation, blah, 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 like the boring stuff. But really, I think for most of us, especially if you're in the early stages of your business, if you're not yet at the point where you've hired team members, managing your personal time, energy, and focus is like, it's a skill. Some people have it harder than others. Maybe you might have some kind of, neurodivergence or whatever to make it harder, but it's certainly not impossible. It's just, we all have different hands, and we all have to learn skills based on the hands that we're dealt. And again, these are just skills. They can be learned. There's books about time management. My book, Feel Good Productivity, is sort of about energy management. The book Deep Work by Cal Newport is about focus. The Art of Focus by Dan Koh is literally about focus. Like, there are books about this stuff. There are audiobooks about this stuff. There are YouTube videos about this stuff. And you can listen to audiobooks while doing other things. So often people are like, oh, but I need to learn all these skills, but I don't have time to learn the skills. And it's like, bro, just listen to the audiobooks, right? Like, don't stop listening to music and just listen to an audiobook instead when you're commuting to and from work. So this is sort of like a very rough model of what I think are the key skills to get you to this goal of 6-figure lifestyle business. And it sounds like a lot, but it's also really not that much. There's 4 skills that help you generate a sensible idea. And then, to be honest, once you've made a good idea, you can just keep on selling the same thing for a very long time. Like, we started our YouTuber Academy 5 years ago in 2020, and that one thing has made over like $10 million for the business, something absurd like that. Just one idea. And so this is not even a thing that you have to keep doing all the time. Magnetic marketing, yeah, you have to do quite a lot. Like, I still have to make content, but it's fun most of the time, so I kind of enjoy it some of the time. This is a thing that you have to do ongoing. But again, there's only 4 things here, and really only 3 because most of you aren't going to do outreach. It's basically just content and emails, and then if you really want to, you can add ads. So it's not that hard to learn the skill and just do the thing. And then the time problem is like, well, when you improve your ability to manage your time, energy, and focus, it just improves every aspect of your life, not just your business. And so the skills that you learn over here actually bleed into every other aspect of your life. You're more present with your family, you can take care of your health better, just like everything improves when you're good at managing your time, energy, and focus. And so what I like about this model is that, to me, it feels like it kind of demystifies this like, whoa, goal of like, man, it'd be so sick if I could make £100,000 a year doing what I love. And it's like, yeah, you can. You just need to learn these like 9 different skills. Each of these skills maybe takes a few hours if you talk to ChatGPT and watch the right kind of video and maybe listen to one audiobook. Only a few hours. Like, if you think about how much time you were supposed to invest into your degree at university, it's a lot more than a few hours per skill, right? We spent all of this time memorizing these like tedious biochemistry pathways that are completely irrelevant. You spent all of this time in school doing like differential equations or whatever that you've never used since then. And you spent way more time on that. And I speak to so many people that like, oh man, I don't know what idea to do. I'm like, okay, have you read $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy? And they're like, no, not yet. Have you read .com Secrets by Russell Brunson? No, not yet. I know you've recommended it, but I still haven't read it. I just haven't found the time. Okay, so you've got time to like, but you're training for a marathon. Like, what are you listening to when you're doing your runs? Oh, I just listen to music or podcasts. Okay, I mean, have you thought about maybe just, if you really care about this, just like listening to the audiobook instead? Oh shit, I've never thought of that. Okay, I'll do that. You know, that's the kind of thing. So I think if there's one message I would sort of really hope everyone takes away from this, is that this is really not that hard. It's not that hard. And this is something that every time I hang out with entrepreneurs that are making way more money than we are, what I'm left with is, holy shit, this is actually not that hard. Like, these guys are no smarter than I am. They're working actually not much harder than I am. They're just pressing keys in a different order. They're just doing slightly different things. And they're also having issues with, like, you know, worried about, like, they're also overthinking their offers. They're also worried that content is cringe. They also think like, oh, you know, I'm not delegating after my team. I'm still doing too much myself. You know, all this kind of stuff. All of the problems are like basically the same, and it's really not that hard. Especially something like six-figure lifestyle business. When I was working as a doctor, and man, the thought, like the most I could imagine in my head was like a consultant salary of 100,000, and then there's tax. Really, it's about 60,000. That was like literally the most I could, like my mind would break if I would even imagine amounts of money greater than that. And then you start running a business and you see that people are selling things for $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month for like 2 hours a week of work. And you're like, wait a minute, what? And then, you know, it's like this thing a lot of people have, like, you know, you start charging clients and you start charging maybe like £5 or like £10 or whatever. And you get all this pushback from these people that like don't want to pay £10. And then maybe one day you charge £10,000 and the client says, money sent, thanks. And you're like, oh, fuck. Like, 10 grand was like literally nothing to this guy. Interesting. And then you do a 50K client and you realize that 50K is literally nothing to these people. And so the whole like way of thinking about money just really starts to break, because we're so conditioned to think about money as consumers. We think of like, oh my God, the new iPhone is £1,000. That's so expensive. Or like, I can't believe the cost of living has gone up. So this pint of milk is £1.50. Like all of it, we're so conditioned to think in terms of how consumers think about numbers. And we're so not used to thinking about how businesses think about numbers. But if you went to literally any business that you know, they're probably making at least 100 grand in profit. Probably. At least they're doing 100 grand in revenue, because for a business to have 2 employees, it kind of has to be doing 100 grand in revenue. Most of the businesses that you will come into contact with, the coffee shops, the local kebab shops, the restaurants, the small accounting firm, the yoga teacher, if they have 2 employees, they're probably doing 100 grand in revenue, at least. So it's not that hard. It's just about learning some skills and starting and sustaining and making it happen. And so the final thing I would leave you with is that it's just about learning the skills, man. It's not that hard. Thank you.
I talked to some people that next to me would also, the lady she just shared, I'm also a female founder. I think for women, it's kind of sometimes we talk ourselves down. Because there are a lot of podcasts out there, it's all the same, like drop out from Stanford, and like smart guys like yourself from Cambridge. And as a woman, sometimes we start to talk ourselves out of the game, even before other people say that to us. How should we unlock that?
This is a good question about the women thing. I can't pretend to have much insight about the women thing, I'm afraid. But I have a wife now, and who's also a female entrepreneur and YouTuber, who sadly couldn't be here today because she couldn't be bothered, which is fine. Because she's heard this shit all the time. Every time, like, we have a whiteboard in the living room, and I'm always like, Izzy, let me draw you a triangle. And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, are you sure you're okay with like me drawing? And she's like, no, it's actually fine. I mean, yeah. So yeah, now living with a female entrepreneur, I am often amazed as to how much like self-sabotage there is. And I've been really trying to figure out why, and Izzy's also been trying to figure out why, and so she's actually been like reaching out to these like different like coaches and like business coaches and trying to find like a female business coach rather than one of the bro-y business coaches and stuff. And she really vibes with Layla Hormozi's content rather than Alex's content, and you know all of this stuff. I don't know. I just think I think from a young age, women are basically taught that they have to sort of they can't be too out there, because if you're like put yourself out there, then the girls that you go to school with will tear you down. And also like girls get called bossy, even though that rather than confident, or like, you know, bitchy rather than assertive. All of this sort of stuff. It's just really unfair. And so in Izzy's case, a lot of the and a lot of the female entrepreneurs we speak to, there's way more like emotional hurdles and psychological hurdles that like where they'll say no to themselves before someone else says no to them. And often in the conversations that I'm having with Izzy, she's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm thinking of making this YouTube video, but I don't feel like I have any value to add. And I find it often helpful to just sort of write it down. Be like, okay, what are you worried about? It's like, well, I'm worried that no one's going to watch the video. Okay, no one. Like, surely not no one. I mean, like, it's going to at least one view, right? Like, how many? Oh, no, okay, fine. Maybe 50,000 views. 50,000? That's a lot of people. Like, that's like the size of like Wembley Stadium or something, like half of it. Like, that's quite a lot of people. So, oh yeah, there's a lot of people. And then it's sort of, what it will come down to often is, I'm afraid this is not valuable enough, or something. Like, all roads lead to, I'm afraid this is not valuable enough. I'm afraid that if I put myself out there, people will like say that this is not valuable enough or whatever. And I don't know. I think we also have a few female entrepreneur friends who have figured that out. And what they've said in response to this is, the feeling is always going to be there. And I think Layla Hormozi has the thing. I think her whole shtick is like, fuck your feelings, follow the plan, kind of thing. Like, that's her whole shtick. So Izzy thinks about that a lot. Like, that's kind of her mantra: fuck your feelings, follow the plan. The way I think of feelings is, I was having a chat with Iram, one of my former team members, about this. It's like, have you ever like tried like meditation and stuff? You know, like one of the things in meditation is sort of like thoughts and feelings are like those cars going around in the background. They're just the cars passing by, or like an aeroplane flying overhead. And you can just like watch the car go by and not run after it. Like, you can just do that. And so if a feeling shows up of like, oh, this feels bad, like whenever I encourage people to raise their prices, there's always feelings around it. Like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly charge $1,000. And there's all these like weird negative sensations. And then that feeling is accompanied by a thought. The thought says, who are you to think you could charge $1,000? Like, you're a joke. Like, no one's going to take you seriously. No one's going to buy this. You're going to end up broke and homeless. And all of these are just the cars going by. Oh, look, there's one going by over there that says, I'm going to end up broke and homeless. There's one that's gone by over there that's like, you've got a sweat patch underneath your t-shirt. No one gives a fuck. There's a double-decker bus over there that says that, like, oh, you're getting a bit fat, and people are going to see. There's a car over there that's like, you've got a zit on your nose, therefore you shouldn't film a YouTube video. One of the best things I've learned from meditation, and Izzy's found this valuable as well, is that the thoughts and feelings will always be there. They're just like the cars in the background. And so you can, in fact, ignore them and just do the thing anyway. And that just really seems to be the thing. You're just ignoring the feelings, recognizing they're going to be there all the time, and just doing the thing anyway. I was at this event it was a few weeks ago, it was at this yacht party in Hong Kong for entrepreneurs doing more than 50 million a year in revenue. And the only reason we were invited is because we were friends with the organizers, because we do way less than 50 million a year in revenue. And there were some female entrepreneurs there doing more than 50 million a year in revenue, and Izzy was on a table with them, and they were all talking about how much imposter syndrome they feel every day of their lives. And she was really inspired. She was like, holy fuck, these guys feel just as much imposter syndrome as I am. These guys are as much of a mess as I am, and they're still doing the thing. That's really cool. So I think it's about fuck your feelings, follow the plan, to quote Layla Hormozi on that front. And thank you, that's a good question. Hello.
My question is a bit, I don't know, I just came up with it right now in my head. You know, people like yourself, Daniel Priestley, Stephen Bartlett, people that you've met and spoken to on podcasts as well, you provide a lot of value to people across the internet. I just want to know, why is it that you guys do this work that you do, and why do you share all these insightful interviews? I mean, you could just sit quietly in your office and just make content and make your money on the side. Why do you share this with the people around the world?
Good question. One is because we like money. And when you do this, it's a form of magnetic marketing. So Stephen Bartlett could sit and talk to his camera all day long. Or he could do that in addition to having people on a podcast. And now having a podcast is kind of nice, Because when you do content creation yourself, after a while, you start to run out of things to say. And so then you start a podcast and you get other people on the podcast, like Robin's been on the podcast, Simon who was there has been on the podcast. You get people on the podcast who can then offer their expertise, and so you shine the light on them, and then it becomes great because you then get more content through magnetic marketing. So there is that. There's always a business component in everything that someone does, which is often why, interestingly, people who make content about business are often the ones selling courses about businesses. And so you can often get this impression that like everyone who's making money on the internet is doing it by teaching other people how to make money on the internet. But that's actually just a complete distortion. What it is just an incentive structure. So if I'm yoga with Adrian and I'm teaching people how to do yoga, it's not in my interest to talk about my business and the fact that I'm making 10 million a year with a 10 million a year lifestyle business and what my team structure looks like. Because I'm teaching people how to do yoga, like they don't give a fuck. If I'm just in guitar and I'm teaching people how to play the guitar, it's not in my interest to talk about how much money I'm making from teaching people to play the guitar and to talk about like the marketing structure and the sales funnels of my online guitar courses, even though he's making 7 figures doing what he loves as a lifestyle business and I learned the guitar from his tutorials. It's just the incentives are not aligned. But if I am Robin Waite and I'm a business coach whose clients are coming to me to help me grow their business, it's in my interest to create content and have conversations with people about business. People tend not to do that unless they have something to sell on the back end. So that's like part of it. But I think the other part of it, and like, you know, why does Stephen Bartlett still do it? Well, I mean, he makes a shit ton of money from his podcast through all the stuff, but also there is just like a mission component. I feel like, okay, can we have a show of hands if you kind of like the idea of teaching? Yeah, teaching is fun. If you become successful at anything, it's just kind of fun to mentor and teach other people about the thing. And so why do I do it? I mean, there are more efficient ways of me to make money other than teaching, but teaching is fun. It's what like lights me up. This is why I think of it as a lifestyle business where it's like fun, freedom, fun, flexibility, fulfillment, and finances. And for me, teaching generates that fun and fulfillment aspect and also is a reasonable business model. Why does Dan Priestley teach? Well, it's part of the business model, but also because he just loves teaching. As you guys become more successful, or even not, like even if you're not like a 10 out of 10 success or whatever, however you define that, you can always teach people that are like 1 or 2 steps behind you. This is a big part of what we teach in our kind of courses and things, which is you don't have to be an expert. It's just really fun sharing what you know. And so everyone here enjoys teaching, and that's a big part of why we do it. Cool, okay, we have time for one question.
My question is to do with accountability. This seems like a solid plan, and I'd love to carry it through, and I will try. But my problem is consistency, like keep going with it. So my question is, how do you hold yourself accountable if you say you're going to do something? Like if I'm going to release this many YouTube videos or etc.
Good question. Thank you for asking that. That is everyone's constant struggle, including mine. It's really hard to hold yourself accountable. It's a lot easier for someone else to hold you accountable. So almost everyone I know who is continuing with whatever their business or YouTube channel is has some kind of accountability squad or accountability buddy system. I have a friend, his name is Aaron, his YouTube channel is Mr. Who's the Boss. He's got like 21 million subscribers on YouTube. He's had an accountability squad almost from like day one of his channel, where it was, I mean, in the early days when no one knew who he was doing it himself. But like fairly quickly, he found an accountability squad of other people who were doing YouTube videos, and they would meet every week on Skype calls back in the day and Zoom calls now. Angus at the back has an accountability with another sort of friend of ours, where they get together. I hope you don't mind me sharing. They get together once a week, and this is like the most bro thing imaginable. What they do is that instead of going to therapy, they get on a Zoom call together and they talk to ChatGPT independently. And this is a 1-hour Zoom call once a week, and they both say it's been more valuable than actually going to therapy. And there's an accountability structure. And I was having breakfast with Angus the other day, and he was like, man, I just wouldn't bother with that unless I had Jamie on the other end of the call. I hope I'm not snaking out Jamie for being weird. He's got Jamie on the other end of the call, like, who's doing this thing. So it's just unbelievably helpful to have accountability buddies. When I was at uni, I wouldn't study on my own in my room because that's boring and depressing. I would go to the library with friends or go to a coffee shop. And it does often take, like, I think one of the things is that if you want to set up an accountability squad, you have to be okay with looking a bit weird. So when I first at university started to suggest to friends, hey, should we all go to the library together to study? I was fucking terrified. I was like, they're going to think I'm a nerd. What? I'm not a nerd. They're going to think I'm weird for like inviting them to the library. Who does that? I even messaged a girl saying, do you want to join our study group? And I was like, she thinks I'm coming onto her. Like, oh my God, it's so weird. And every single person was like, oh my God, I'd love that. That would be so great. And what it kind of made me realize, and I've taken this lesson in a lot of other areas of life, is that everyone wants someone to be the organizing force. They just don't want to be the organizing force themselves. So similarly, it's very easy to make friends if you just invite people over for dinner, because everyone is lonely. Everyone is lonely. Almost no one actually has plans every single night of the week. And there's very, very few people that do. And so you generally find that if you're just like, hey, do you fancy grabbing a dinner on this date at this time? A lot of people will be like, yeah, why not? And then it becomes a regular thing. It becomes like a standing order social event. So back at university, we would have a standing order thing. Every day in exam term, we would meet at the Emmanuel College Library at 8 in the morning. We'd get a coffee. We would go to the prayer room to do like the prayers and all that kind of stuff. We'd go out for lunch, go out for dinner afterwards. And we got so much work done because it was a regular thing. I think really the key is to have an accountability squad, other people who meet regularly and make it happen. This is really fragile in the initial days. Often sometimes here, people get together and be like, hey, do you want to be accountability buddies or whatever? And then they'll do it once, they'll do it twice. And then one person will flake because something came up, and then the other person will feel like, oh no, but and then just the friction of getting it back up and running is just too high, and then the thing falls apart. So in the early stages, it's so fragile, and everyone kind of needs to sort of do what it takes to make it happen. I think 3 or 4 people is a good group, because if one person flakes, you can still have the other group, etc. But really, I think a lot of the consistency thing comes down to finding accountability buddies rather than trying to hold yourself accountable. So thank you for asking the question. That's a good one. Okay, so thank you.
Alrighty, thank you very much for watching. I hope you got some value out of that video. And if you haven't yet seen another talk that I did probably a month ago, that was at an event here in Hong Kong. Again, talking about time freedom and financial freedom and answering questions from the audience, then that is right over here. So thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.